Hey everyone, this video is going to be a little different. I'm not going to be talking about a game or series of games in particular. Instead, I wanted to tell a somewhat personal story for two reasons. The first reason is so that you can get to know me better, and the second reason is because I think people can relate to this story and possibly even learn something from it. Keep in mind that this story is from my point of view, and I promise you all that everything I talk about from my point of view is 100% the truth. There's literally no reason to lie here. I'm currently a nobody who makes videos for the shits and giggles. As I mentioned in my Game Awards video, I took a break from gaming since August of this year, or 2023 for people watching later in the future. To understand why I did this, I do have to go back in time. The thing is, ever since I got my first PS2 and Game Boy Advance back when I was 4 or 5 years old, video games have been an important part of my life, as cringe as that sounds. Like many others, for me it was a fun escape from reality that was also a great way of killing time. To this day, it still is. Now fast forward to just a few years ago when I was in college and esports started to blow up. I had the opportunity to play for my university's Rainbow Six Siege team. It was fun at first, and even when I finished playing I had the opportunity to be the team's new manager, which I did for a year. As to whether or not I did a good job as a player or manager, I will let my former teammates decide that for themselves. But anyways, I'd say that this moment is where the plateau began for me. Yes, I was having fun playing and competing, but over time things didn't seem to change much. Then things really went downhill. The competitive mindset really got to me to a point where I'd rage at my friends because they didn't do a certain thing with pinpoint accuracy. It got to a point where they stopped playing the game entirely because I was being an asshole, and looking back at it, I wouldn't want to play games with my past self either. I've apologized since and eventually ended up breaking what seemed like a symbiotic relationship with Siege that same year because of the cheating epidemic. Yes, I know, another Spider-Man reference, sorry I had to. So what did my friends and I move to next? Another competitive shooter, of course. Yes, we played a bit of Destiny, but Bungie keeps killing that game off every other season. Don't believe me? Check my friend's video on it. Around this time, we had not one, but two games to play. CSGO and Valorant. Thing is, we have a friend who's incredibly good at CSGO, so we played that game a bit before Valorant's release, and let me tell you, both games were extremely addictive when we started playing them. So addictive to the point where we'd have two shooters to play for the next 2 years. We also played multiplayer co-op games like Phasmophobia, and those guys to this day still play a bunch of League of Legends. I myself tried League a couple times, but it's just not my type of game. When playing CSGO, I'd like to think that I wasn't as toxic as I was when playing Siege. I learned my lesson by then, and I always tried to encourage my friends by complimenting their plays, hyping them up when they clutch, and saying nice try when they don't. That doesn't mean I wasn't toxic at all, but I remember being more controlled when playing CS. Probably because I never actually competed in that game, and I knew I wasn't nearly as good as the people who do. I could say the same for Valorant, but I didn't stay on that game for too long because after some updates, that game felt more like Overwatch than it did Counter-Strike. Something about Counter-Strike being so bare bones just reminded me of old school Call of Duty, and I was so drawn to that game for the 2 years that I played it. So what happened? Well, my friends and I got bored of it. We played FACEIT because CSGO matchmaking is full of cheaters, and our FACEIT games would have one of three outcomes. We either dumpstered the other team, got dumpstered by the other team, or every now and then we would have a close and competitive matchup that would actually be fun. On top of that, we always ran into players who had FACEIT Premier, so they could straight up ban certain maps before we even get to vote them out. Needless to say, we played so much Mirage, Dust 2, and Inferno. You can tell where I'm going with this. It became way too repetitive for us, and FACEIT queues just took forever. So we all just collectively stopped playing CSGO together. I'd still hop on CSGO to have some fun in community servers, but I didn't dare solo queue because that's a death sentence in every game today. And why is that? Esports. As someone who used to be a college esports player myself, I can tell you that it's a double-edged sword for any game. On one hand, you have the best of the best players in the world that showcase incredible feats of skill every time you see them compete, and the LAN events are a fun experience for people who love that particular game. Esports, as well as content creation, has shown the entire world just how much money and fame someone can accumulate by just playing video games. On the other hand, it can negatively impact people in absurd ways. I'm no doctor or psychiatrist, but I do know that video games are an escape from reality and highly addictive. That sounds a lot like drugs, doesn't it? And that's the thing, video games are like drugs and people can get addicted. You sprinkle in the influence from esports and now you have people addicted to the game who have this insane competitive drive to win while having no self-control when they lose. Sounds familiar? That's right, that's the exact same thing I went through, and ever since I learned to control myself, I've been able to see the worst brought out in people for the same reasons that got me before. every single match in whatever game felt overly competitive and toxic for no particular reason, which was not something I wanted to deal with in the very little spare time I had. I dealt with it for a while, but once I got a PS5, I said enough is enough and stopped with multiplayer games entirely. At least player versus player games, because I'd hop on for some Phasmophobia every now and then. However, I'd eventually get bored of Phasmophobia too, and genuinely thought that gaming fell off. That was until I decided to lock in on single player games, especially now that I had a PS5. To be fair, I was playing Yakuza 0 on PC a bit beforehand, but damn, I can't win a game of Mahjong! Anywho, I decided to play God of War 2018 and absolutely loved that game. For the first time in such a long time, I genuinely had fun with a game. By the way, for those interested, my God of War 2018 review will be linked in the description. As I mentioned in my review, I literally only played that game so I could play Ragnarok, but ended up having a great time on the game, which only made me enjoy Ragnarok even more. Those two games made me realize that gaming did not fall off, and that I was missing out on some bangers. After beating Gana and Hrolf in New Game Plus on Give Me God of War, I played the first two Insomniac Spider-Man games in preparation for Spider-Man 2. I've also made reviews for those games as well if you want to check them out on my channel. Afterwards, I played a game that many people said was really good, Ghost of Tsushima. Now that's a game. I only ended up playing just the story, but even that was really good. Believe me, for a good week or so, I was genuinely meditating and making my own haikus. Got me feeling like Jin Sakai for real. Thing is, after beating that game's story, I just ended up taking a break from games. It really came out of nowhere, and I don't know the exact reason why. I guess a part of me felt burnt out from games in general and wanted to try something new. That something would be Muay Thai. It's only been a few months, but it's grown on me as a hobby. I absolutely love it. Additionally, I started editing videos on the side for people and ended up having a lot of fun doing it. So when it came time to play Spider-Man 2, once I was done with the game, I decided to write a review on it. I'd usually do this for games, movies, or TV shows on my Discord server. However, after editing some videos, I said to myself, maybe I should make a video. And that's exactly what I did. So now we're here. I got a regular job, and my spare time is spent making videos, doing Muay Thai, or playing video games. I'm at that point in life where I have a fair amount of things to do in my spare time, and I enjoy those things in moderation to avoid burnout. Now you may be asking, okay, what's the point of this story? Honestly, I don't really know. I'd say the definition is whatever you think it ought to be. Some of you may think I use this as an excuse to talk about myself, and you're not wrong because that's literally what I did. However, I will say that some takeaways from this story would be that you shouldn't feel the need to limit yourself to just one thing. It's okay to take breaks every now and then, whether it's to try new things or to cut out some bad habits. At the end of the day, hobbies exist to keep you entertained, and you have to realize that just because your hobby is someone else's profession, that doesn't mean it's your profession as well. Now that's not to say your hobby can't become your profession, but if you don't plan on doing that, then why even act like it? Enjoying your hobbies in moderation is important if you want those things to remain as your hobbies, and it's even better when you find the right people to enjoy them with, whether they've been longtime friends of yours or people you met through your hobby. For example, my oldest friend group that I still hang out with and play video games with are composed of people I've known since middle school and people I've met from playing video games, all bundled up into one group. They're some of the nicest, funniest, and most down-to-earth people I know. One of them I ended up meeting through Destiny LFG back in 2014, and now he's inviting me to his wedding next year. Isn't that something? Gaming, as well as other hobbies, are great ways to bring people together and overall can positively impact people's lives. However, we don't really see that as often. Meanwhile, there's countless amounts of rage compilations and clips of people downright insulting each other over a video game. Mind you, most of these people aren't making any actual money from winning, let alone just playing the game. I get that these rage compilation videos are funny and a great way to rack up views, but it also negatively impacts the image that other people have of gamers. Whether they're gamers themselves or outsiders looking in, they're only seeing the toxicity gamers have towards each other, which in turn breeds negative stereotypes about gamers. With all of that being said, I'd like to start a new category of videos called Toxicity in the Blank Community, where I'll basically highlight the toxicity within a particular community and shed some light on the positive things within that community. Kinda like what I'm doing in this video. I'm gonna primarily keep it within gaming communities, but I could branch out later. That's going to conclude the video. If you made it to the end, thank you so much for listening. I hope you were able to relate to this story and possibly learn something from it. This isn't something I normally do on the channel, but it's genuinely something I wanted to get off my chest. As for what's coming soon, my God of War Ragnarok video is going to take just a bit longer because of the DLC, which I'm currently playing on the Show Me Mastery difficulty. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm getting cooked. Obvious skill issue aside, I'm really enjoying it and I can't wait to get my Ragnarok video out there. For now, I'd like to thank you all again for watching and I'll see you in the next one.